The late afternoon sun cast long shadows over the bustling streets of Chicago, but amid the crowd, one scene stood out with an almost unbearable quietness. A little boy, no more than 8 years old, huddled on the corner, his small hands holding a cardboard tray filled with candy bars, each one carefully arranged as if it were a precious treasure. His face was pale, his clothes worn and slightly tattered, yet his eyes held a determination that seemed far older than his years. People passed him by, too absorbed in their own lives to notice, while the boy called softly, barely loud enough to pierce the noise of the city. He was selling candy not for toys, not for fun, but for something far more urgent: money for his sick mother, who lay weak and frail in a small, dimly lit apartment just a few blocks away. The world around him moved fast, indifferent, but he refused to stop. He had promised his mother he would do everything he could. As the boy shuffled between pedestrians, clutching his tray tightly, a sleek black car rolled to a stop at the light nearby. Behind the tinted windows sat Jonathan Carter, a self-made millionaire, dressed in a tailored navy suit, his polished shoes tapping against the leather interior. Jonathan was on his way to yet another board meeting, another deal, another moment in a life that was always full but often empty. But when he glanced out the window, his eyes caught sight of the boy, small and fragile, yet unyielding, trying to make a living in a world that seemed too harsh for children. Something inside him stirred, a mixture of pity, disbelief, and a deep, inexplicable pull at his heartstrings. In that instant, Jonathan knew he couldn't just drive away. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the extraordinary ways strangers can change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, because stories like these deserve to be told. Jonathan stepped out of his car and walked slowly toward the boy, careful not to startle him. The city noises seemed to fade as he approached, and the boy's hands trembled slightly as he held out a candy bar. Jonathan smiled gently, crouching down to the boy's level. He asked quietly where the candy money was going, and the boy, hesitating at first, finally confessed. His mother, Mary Beth, was gravely ill. She had been unable to work for months, and the boy had taken it upon himself to help cover the medical bills, the rent, and the food. Jonathan felt his chest tighten. Here was a child, so young, carrying burdens no child should ever know, yet still facing each day with courage. Without thinking twice, Jonathan handed him enough money to buy out the entire tray of candy and told him to go home. But the story didn't end there. Jonathan wanted to know more about the boy and his mother, and so he followed him quietly to a small apartment on the city's north side. The hallway smelled faintly of disinfectant, and the paint was chipped, revealing years of neglect. When the door opened, a frail woman in her 30s leaned weakly against the doorframe. Her eyes were sunken, and her hands shook as they held the boy close. Mary Beth barely had the strength to smile, but when Jonathan introduced himself and explained why he had come, something remarkable happened. Tears welled in her eyes, not from despair, but from a hope she hadn't felt in months. For the first time since her illness began, she felt seen, cared for, and believed in. Over the next few days, Jonathan didn't just leave a check at the door. He spent time with Mary Beth, learning about her dreams before life had taken such a cruel turn. He helped arrange medical appointments, secured financial assistance, and even enlisted friends to fix up the apartment so it became a warm, safe space rather than a place that reflected illness and struggle. The little boy watched all of this in awe, his tiny heart swelling with the knowledge that someone truly cared, someone truly believed in him and his mother. Mary Beth's health slowly began to improve, thanks to the support and proper care she now had. And through it all, she never stopped marveling at the kindness of a stranger who had changed the course of their lives. Jonathan saw something in this mother and son that reminded him of his own childhood. He had grown up in a wealthy family, yet he had lost his parents young and understood, even at the height of his success, the deep ache of loneliness and fear that comes from fighting life's battles without support. Watching Mary Beth and her son face their struggle head-on, he realized that wealth without compassion was hollow. True riches, he understood, came from lifting others up, from showing that even in a vast impersonal city, humanity could prevail. As weeks turned into months, the transformation in the lives of Mary Beth and her son was undeniable. The little boy no longer had to stand on the corner selling candy, and Mary Beth's health improved steadily. They laughed more, shared meals, and even took small trips in the park, things that once seemed impossible. The boy's bravery, determination, and love for his mother had not only saved them, but had inspired Jonathan to rethink his own life, his purpose, and the meaning of true generosity. By the time winter arrived, the small apartment glowed with warmth, laughter, and hope. Jonathan continued to check in, not because he wanted recognition, but because he had become genuinely invested in their happiness. Mary Beth often sat by the window, watching her son play with friends, her heart full of gratitude and disbelief at the turn of their fortunes. She could not stop marveling at how a single act of kindness had transformed not only their lives, but the very way they viewed the world. And for the little boy, the lessons he had learned, that courage, love, and persistence could move mountains, became a guiding light he would carry forever. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your engagement helps spread the message that kindness can change lives, that even in a world that often seems indifferent, compassion can shine through. And before we end, I'd love for you to leave a comment sharing a moment when someone's kindness changed your life. It could inspire others as well. In the end, what Jonathan, Mary Beth, and her son experienced was more than a simple act of charity. It was a reminder that even the smallest gestures, the quietest acts of love, can ripple through lives, creating hope where there was despair, light where there was darkness. The boy who had once stood alone on a cold street corner became a symbol of resilience. Mary Beth, once frail and hopeless, discovered her strength and the profound impact of being seen and supported. And Jonathan, the millionaire, who had everything yet had felt a void in his heart, found fulfillment in giving without expectation, in connecting deeply with lives that deserved a second chance. Life, as it often does, had brought together three souls from vastly different worlds, but it had done so to remind everyone watching that no act of kindness is ever wasted, that courage, love, and empathy can change lives in ways money alone never could. And as snow began to fall softly outside the apartment windows, the three of them sat together, warm, safe, and grateful, knowing that hope, once found, could never truly be taken away.